Hi, guys. This is another episode of my series on crafting your messaging and positioning. And today, what we're going to talk about is something called building your ideal customer profile. So, once you build your ideal customer profile, you'll have one more of those sheets that you're going to, stick in front of your desk where you work out of, and it's going to be forever useful for as long as you stay in that market and cater to that audience. So let's get right into it. Ideal customer profile. What's an ideal customer profile? Ideal customer profile is a profile that profiles your prospect. To build an ideal customer profile, you're going to be super, super, super aware of the triggers that tick your prospects and, the triggers that impact your prospects' decision making process. So that's how you build an ICP. Once you make a list of all of these triggers and factors that impact, their decision to buy your product, you've built an ICP, you've built an ideal client profile. Now, fun fact, once you're done with this, you're done with almost 75% of the hard work that you got to do in order to get going. Why is that? Because this is the idea box. This research document is the idea box that you can instantly use, instantly pick messages from, or instantly pick triggers from, and give them some finishing touches and plug it into your messaging. So it is the real hard work, and don't try to cut corners here. A lot of people cut corners here. A lot of people start assuming stuff about their prospects, their audience, and they directly head into writing messages, which they should not, because it's not going to be pinpointed that way, right? So if you don't cut corners here in this process, if you don't miss out, or if you religiously follow this process, if you religiously build an ICP, you're already ahead of your competitors. You're already going to be super relevant, more personalized than your competitors out there in the same market. So a humble reminder before we start into building an ICP, or before we talk more about ICP, is that the information that you discover about your prospects is only as valuable as the response it triggers. What does this mean? You cannot discover any random information about your prospects. You have to discover information that is about your prospects and also related to the area that your product taps into. So it has to do with the problem statement that you're solving for them and their emotions and triggers regarding that problem statement. You can't just figure out, where they live, what kind of age group they have, do they have kids or not. I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I'm talking about this trend that started in the marketing world of building customer personas. In fact, people call it buyer's personas. And I actually hate the word buyer's persona because the thing is, when you're terming it buyer's persona, you're actually looking at your prospect as a buyer. Once your prospect has bought, the relationship is over. I mean, that's not how it works, right? A customer remains a customer for life if you've built a good relationship. Almost all businesses right now are more about retention than acquisition. We're going to get into it as well, but I hate personas because personas tend to pick random information about the prospects, which is not necessarily related to the problem statement that you're solving, and they end up in order to make it more human and fancy and startup-ish and social media worthy, they give them cute names like Sample Sally. Sample Sally is a very famous buyer's persona example if you find on Google. Then another buyer's persona that I've attached an image here is of Jeff. And they've noted down the age, occupation, relationship status, children, income level. It's all very irrelevant. This is good for targeting on LinkedIn, targeting on Facebook, because you can give all of this information to Facebook and get people like this. But you cannot craft your information. But you cannot craft your messaging based on these information. What do you gotta do to craft the messaging? You gotta build an ICP. So again, as I said previously, and I'm going to open that screen again, the information you discover about your prospects is only as relevant and as valuable as the response it triggers. Now, that's the big mistake. Making personas is the big mistake unless you're asking the right kind of questions. How do you ask the right kind of questions? We're going to get into it. Now, as I just said, do not build buyers personas with irrelevant information. I just can't repeat this enough. Do your on-ground research, get the real messages. Do not be susceptible to cognitive biases. We're all susceptible to cognitive biases. Try to avoid them. Try to take the assumptions out of your head. Try to step out of your head and go into the ground, go into the online communities, offline communities, and interact with your audience and get the real info that actually triggers the response in their heads in order to make them a customer from prospect. So again, now we'll get into the meat of the content. Key aspects of building the ICP. Number one, there are three core factors that affect your prospects' decision making. The number one factor is desire. Now, you need to understand that as humans, we are more motivated by the avoidance of pain than we are by the pursuit of pleasure. What I mean here is you are more likely to act with a motivator of avoiding pain than seeking pleasure. If there is, a fear, that's going to move you faster than if there is an opportunity of, some pleasure. This is called loss aversion bias. You can Google it. This is called loss aversion bias. People are more likely to react to fear avoidance or pain avoidance than anything else. Now, that also means, you can look at life and, your markets and your entire journey of marketing as you can kind of look at life as, where we're all running through life and running away from things that we're afraid of or terrified of. And another fact here is once we've come to this understanding that we're motivated by avoidance of pain, let's now understand the intensity of that motivation, intensity of that desire to act. That intensity of the desire to act is directly proportional to the urgency of the problem. Now, I'll give you a quick example. We work with the health supplement brand, and we were trying different angles, going into the market. We tried all the upliftment angles, angles that will help them gain a healthy life, fulfill their nutrient recommendations, fulfill their nutritional, goals, fulfill their all the things, that keep them healthy. We got decent conversion rates. However, when we started, positioning our products, our supplement products, and when we started positioning those products and started targeting chronic diseases, people suffering from chronic diseases, and we had the mention of chronic diseases in our messaging, we saw much better conversion rates. Once someone is suffering from a chronic disease, it's a problem that's always in their head, and people have dedicated budgets to avoid that problem or lessen the pain every month. So once you go there, you realize that the problem is big, and hence the urgency to act is also big, and hence the intensity of the desire is also big. Hence we were seeing better conversion rates, and the conversions were coming at much lower ad spend. So this is a real life case study that we personally encountered in our experiments. So think of it like what is the most important problem statement that is in their head with respect to the problem or the area that your product deals with, and tap into that problem statement. You'll get better conversion rates. Moving on.